this week we're going to talk about what it means to be present. And before we get into it, I'm going to read from Isaiah, about the prophet Isaiah, from Isaiah chapter 6, verse 1 to 8. And I'm reading from the NIV version, New International Version. So and it goes like this. In the year that King Uzziah died, I saw the Lord, high and exalted, seated on a throne, and the train of his robe filled the temple. Above him were seraphim, each with 6 wings. With 2 wings they covered their faces, with 2 they covered their feet, and with 2 they were flying. And they were calling to one another, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord Almighty. The whole earth is full of his glory. At the sound of their voices, the doorposts and thresholds shook, and the temple was filled with smoke. Woe to me, I cried. I am ruined, for I am a man of unclean lips, and I live among a people of unclean lips, and my eyes have seen the King, the Lord Almighty. Then one of the seraphim flew to me, with a live coal in his hand, which he had taken with the tongues from the altar. With it he touched my mouth and said, See, this has touched your lips. Your guilt is taken away, and your sin atoned for. Then I heard the voice of the Lord saying, Whom shall I send? And who will go for us? And I said, Here I am, send me. And the reason I read this, because for me, like when I was like just thinking about everything I was gonna talk about with present, this spoke volumes to me. And how for Isaiah, if you know anything about how the temple, back then was set up, you had like it's different layers to the temple, and in the middle is the holy of holies, like where the high priest can go, and like those who God said like, hey, you can go in there, you can go, like pretty much it was the high priest. And for anybody else, you could die, like if you like it's certain things that you cannot break doing that. And for Isaiah, he was not supposed to be in the innermost, but with God, like he orchestrates our lives in so many ways that he'll put us in areas where we might not think we that we are supposed to be there. We might not think it's like, oh man, like this is not, I don't have the accolades for this career, right? Or I don't have what it takes. And God will appoint you when you are present, right? And for Isaiah, he was in a area in his life where God appointed him even when he wasn't looking for that appointing. Like he's been building his life up. Like he's been studying whatever he was studying, and God knew the moment he was gonna call on him. And for being present, it's more than just showing up. Like for Isaiah, like he didn't just show up. He was fully in. And you can be present and still and be absent. Like you can be there, you can be like, oh man, I'm singing all the songs, I'm doing the worship, I'm doing the service, but you can still be absent of people, from people's lives. Especially when you're supposed to be there stepping into somebody's life, like leading them. And God will put you in situations in life to build you up and help you grow. Either you will be present in the field and learn, or you will have your gaze fixed on where you want to be. Like, you will be so focused on the circumstances around you that you will forget what God is calling you to. Like, you forget, like, to look towards heaven. It's like, hey, this is what God wants me to do. Not what I want to do, what God wants me to do. Yet, if you were just a bit more attentive, just present in the moment, like I said, you will learn how to hear God's voice. And for Isaiah, like it might not be an audible voice to you, like with Isaiah. But when God is like moving different things, opening different doors, like you take me for my word. You'll know. You'll know. Like you'll see things like, man, like, hey, I didn't do that. That wasn't me. And it's like when you see that, like you will have this inner battle. Trust me. Like it'll be you wanting to move toward where God is leading you. But then it's like your flesh and then it's like other people come around like out of nowhere. They're like, hey, you should do this, you should do that, da da da. And like woo woo. And it's like, man, like God, like I hear you and I see you, and it makes it more real because it's like you feel the battle going on. Because it's like, man, like the enemy does not want us to move toward where God is leading us. Like he's not like the enemy's not gonna force us to do anything, right? But he's gonna like try to pull us back. It's like, hey, what about this? What about that? But you need to stay focused and you need to be present, right? And when you're present, God will move you to do new areas in your life. It might not be the easiest because it's growing easy. No, hey, it's pains. It's hard. See, like, and when you're present, you will learn what it means to sacrifice and serve. Like, you got to sacrifice yourself and serve. And serving, it's not always peachy. You know what I'm saying? Like, you might, hey, you might be tired, but that's what it is. You'll serve. You're not serving to be noticed, but when you serve with a servant heart, you will be noticed and you'll be exalted and elevated. Like with Joseph, like he was in prison, and because of how he was present in those moments, like where God was calling him, and he didn't know what was going on. Like God was like, hey, like this is what I'm gonna do in your life. And, you know, he was administrating different things. Like he didn't know what was going on, but God knew how to use him. So for me personally, I'm in a period of my life wherever I am helping out, I'm going to be present. Like in the past, I did not want to be, a leader. I didn't want to jump into leadership because I was not familiar with it. I was familiar not just being a servant, but more so being that second person on the bench. It was like, hey, y'all do that, I'm a roll along. But then when nobody else is there, and it's like, hey, brother Mike, can you do this? Da da da. I'm like, ooh, yeah, okay. And it's like God is like, hey, are you ready? Are you ready? Like, have you been doing your homework? Are you ready? I'm gonna call on you. You're gonna be the next one. Are you ready? And then if you're not, it's gonna pass over you, and he'll come back to you. You know what I'm saying? But it's like that time frame for you experiencing that blessing or whatever it is, like it's gonna go away. So now wherever God calls me, I'm gonna be there. I want to lean in. I want to learn. So it could be a full-time job. It could be new connections. Regardless of what it is, I'm going to be present and ready for what God is doing next. So at the end of the day, when God says, "Whom shall I send? And who will go for us?" And what will be your response? Will you say, man, not the good day, God. Like, I ain't feeling it, Like if Isaiah said, like, hey, I don't want to give the message to the people of Israel. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to do it. And, like, these people, like, the messages he was given was not easy. He was basically saying, like, hey, God said this. Y'all gonna be suffering for all these years. And you gotta read the book. I read it last year. It's crazy. But or will you be like, hey, here I am, send me? Because imagine if Isaiah said he didn't want to do it, and that happened to the people. Like, he's gonna be at Judgment Day, and God will be like, hey, I thought I told you to tell them this, but like, now this is on you, cause they might not, they ain't making it. They probably had a chance, but like, you was the messenger, like, it was your job. So for us, we gotta go like how God said in verse 9. He said go and tell this people. Like he gave them the next step. Like when you move out on faith, then God will respond. Like faith and works. Like he's like, all right, you good. Like I didn't have to give you anything. Like hey, I'm gonna give you the small piece. Now will you go? Like where you could continue to go. So I just wanted to leave you guys with that message, and I hope you guys have a great weekend. It's Juneteenth on Saturday. Hey, I love that day. So I hope you guys have a great weekend, and God bless. And I love y'all. Peace.